All right. Hello, beautiful person. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be going through an 8-step methodology for making your own dark trap melodies from scratch. Look, I don't want to waste your time. I want to give you the absolute gems. I want to talk you through why you're going to be doing things. I don't want to just tell you use this chord progression or just use half steps and then give you like a 7-minute video that doesn't really explain anything other than me just showing you like a melody I made, right? I want to give you the actual sauce. And the whole point is like, usually people say like, yo, take notes in the video, like make sure you're paying attention. Don't do any of that, right? Because you can just watch this back over. You can slow it down. You can always do something else later on your second watch. For the first couple of times that you watch this through, I really want you to like make sure you're understanding why I do. Like on step 1, understand why the main idea. Step 2, understand like what's like what we're going to be talking about. If you understand the concept behind everything we talk about today, like you literally don't even have to write anything down, because really there's one idea behind all of this, and it's just to be like deliberate and to go. And as long as you know that, as long as you're executing on the right things, which are these 8 steps, then you're going to be fine. Like don't overthink it, just understand the main idea, which I will try to deliver to you as we go. That being said, enough talking, let's just get into step 1, and that is like just talking about how to make good melodies without the need for like expensive products or expensive tools. And that's simple. You have to just have the belief that that is possible. And let me just tell you, like I have placements, like a lot of my major placements are just stock plugins, stock melodies, or just like very low cost items that I used to like make music that is good. It has nothing to do with your products. You don't need a $600 VST. You don't need like a $50 one-shot pack. Like you don't need anything ridiculous like that. What you need is faith in your ability to get better over time, which is just like a basic function of being a human. Like we're built to improve things that we practice frequently, right? So as long as you believe that, like nothing else is going to matter. And that's step 1. If you're still stuck, if you're still in that mentality of like, I need Omnisphere in order to make good melodies, then like this is probably not going to help you. Like I would not continue to watch, to be real with you. I would just click off and go watch like one of my 6-minute or 7-minute videos, because that'll probably be a lot more helpful to you. But if you really do want to like learn a set of skills that's going to help you perform no matter what tools are available, then understanding this very fundamental first step of like, you can make good melodies without needing expensive or like these crazy like flashy tools or anything like that. It's just know-how and then simple application, and then practicing those skills over and over again so that you get good. That being said, let's move on to step 2, and that is like determining the actual mood. Like how to determine the mood of your dark melody, right? And that has a lot to do with key. I'm not going to tell you why, and we're just going to go ahead and open up FL keys right here. I'm not going to tell you why certain keys just have a certain dark vibe. And I will also tell you that a lot of this is preferential. Like certain people will like different keys. Here's what I've noticed though. I've noticed that a lot of dark music are in the keys of like A minor, A sharp minor, B minor, C sharp minor, and D sharp minor. Those are like really, really they just have a dark vibe. Try to avoid like G. I hear that a lot more in R&B or happier music. Same thing with G sharp, F, it's like hit or miss. It could be dark. It could give, it's not that, because if you take a minor chord and transfer it over to a different key, like from D sharp to F, it's still going to be a minor chord. It's still going to have a dark vibe, but keys do determine a lot of the mood. So I'm just giving you like through like over a decade of practice, what I've noticed from studying many songs and from getting placements with my own music, what kind of keys tend to resonate with the artists that like dark music. It's like D sharp, C sharp minor, and they're all minor, by the way, B minor and like A sharp minor. So that being said, let's just go for like D sharp minor right now. Boom. I think that's nice. And I think that's nicer. Like that just sounds a little happy to me, right? So it honestly is a bit of preference, but I'm sure there is some science behind like why humans, you know, think certain keys are darker. But again, it's just purely based off of observation. So moving on to step 3, this is how to build the foundation of a good melody every single time. Like, I don't know how people told you to do it before. I don't know what you knew before coming into this. Hopefully you're coming into this with just like a brand new open mind, because this is like a pure methodology to get you to be able to do this every single time. Step 3 being like actually building the foundation. You're going to need to use chords. If you don't want to use chords, click off the damn video, bro. Like, I don't even know why you're here. I don't know what you thought you were going to learn. I don't know what kind of fucking secret you thought you were going to get. If you don't want to learn like basic music theory as a fucking musician, click off the goddamn video. This shit is not for you. If you do want to get good at making melodies, you do need to understand at least some kind of basic chord structure, bro. Ain't no producer, TM88, Southside, Jetson, Motherfucking what's his name, ATL Jacob, I promise you they might not be able to vocalize the fact that they're using music theory, but like the reason I'm getting hype is because you'd be a fool to think they are not using music theory, but oh, all their melodies sound the same. And yes, they are making their melodies from scratch. You're crazy if you think Southside is not making melodies from scratch. You're crazy if you think Metro Boomin is. There's literally video of them doing it even up to this year. So cut it out with all that shit of they use samples, they're not making. No, they do use samples sometimes, but they're still making their own melodies, and they're dark, and they're consistently dark for a reason, because they, at least on some fundamental level, they understand fundamental chord theory. The reason your melodies suck is because you do not understand fundamental chord theory. Once you do, that problem goes away. Then you can build your melody without actually needing to build a chord. But until you can do that, you must use chords. There, you do not have a choice, or your melodies will suck. So use samples. Like, that's it. That's it. So if you want the sauce, that's the sauce. That's the sauce. That's why it's going to be a long video. So not everybody's going to get it. But like, if you get it, that's what you need to understand. Like, that's what they're doing. Ain't no magic with it. You're not going to come up with a new chord progression. You will not. Pythagoras came up with this like over 3,000 years ago. You're not finna reinvent music theory. Just use what already exists. That's why music theory exists. Like, damn, like, bro, anyways, that was for the bro who really thinks he's still finna reinvent melodies and he doesn't need music theory. That was not for you, the person who's like, I know I need music theory, I'm ready to learn. That being said, this is how you build a basic minor chord. It's gonna be built like this every time. Get your first note, boom. That's the second note. Skip 2 spaces. I don't know why it's like that. Just fucking do it. I'm not finna explain it to you. 1, 2, 3, fourth space. Minor chord. You see it sounds dark, boom. If you can do that, you are instantly better than 80% of all producers. Like, congratulations. Welcome to like the elite. Like, seriously, because like 80% of people will not go that far. They will just not accept that that's how you need to make melodies in order to like attain a certain vibe. Same thing, like if you want it to be major, like they just won't learn music theory. So that they are just a weakling in that aspect, which is like crazy because you're literally a musician. Like, you're literally a musician. This makes you a better musician, so you become that much more powerful. Why would you not use things and do things that make you better as a musician? Absolutely confusing to me. Please use chords. Boom, boom. That's a dark chord. That's pretty much all you'll ever need. That's pretty much all you'll ever need. If you want to get a little bit deeper into chords, I will provide a series of videos beneath that really go in depth into different chord progressions that I like to use. But you do need to understand the fundamentals, because we're talking about dark melodies today. You need to understand the fundamentals of like actually making like a dark melody. And it's like a minor chord because it has a dark vibe, and that's how you build it every single time. Now, this isn't exactly built into this lesson, but I do want to explain something that is going to be helpful for you, and that's using half steps to build off of this one chord. If you know this one chord, you can use half steps to build other chords without knowing any of them. And that's why music theory is important, because if you know just a little bit, it takes you that much farther than like literally everybody else. So look at this. A half step is basically just coming down one step on a note. So coming down one step, you can do this anywhere. It's just one step down. So listen to how that sounds solo. You see, it's got like a dark vibe as compared to if it was something like this, like a full step. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. It has that. Now, when you do it with a chord, that's where you really experience the magic. And we've all seen this. We've all like seen all the Metro Boomin melody tutorials. We know this is like one of his go-tos. It's one of the go-tos for ATL trap in general. But the whole magic behind it is that it is the same minor chord that we just learned how to build, right? But you use a half step, and this is the magic of music theory. It's a concept called dissonance. You don't even need to know what it's called. You just need to know that it works and apply it, bro. You don't need to know what gravity is. You just need to know that if you fall out of a tree, you will probably break your leg or die, right? You don't need to know gravity. You don't need to know the law of gravitational force in order to understand that, right? So you don't need to know music theory to understand that half steps work. Just use them. Like, I need to beat that dead horse, because like you need to use chords and you need to use half steps. Like, there is a reason people are spamming that in all their tutorials, because fundamentally that is what you need to do. It's just that they don't talk about everything else that goes into actually building, turning all this shit into something that doesn't sound boring. And that we'll talk about that a little bit later, but like, you do need this. Like, you can't do anything else unless you've set the mood with like a good key and built out a decent foundation for your melody using some kind of chord progression, right? So I really want to like bring that home. magic. And there's a lot of different ways that you can apply half steps. Like I could do a half step here, and then by adjusting this a little bit to make another chord, this isn't a half step, but 2 half steps, and then moving a note somewhere else gives us a completely different chord. Right? And that's just half steps. And there's another way we can play with half steps. Let's see. Half steps even work if we wanted to make a major chord. So we could make a major chord and then use, or no, we could, yeah. Let me see. Yeah, that's a major chord right there, but it's still taking advantage of the concept of dissonance. So that's how like you can even make a dark sounding melody and still be using major chords, is because the concept of dissonance and the concept of half steps and just how it plays in with music theory creates these feelings in our brains that make us think, oh, darkness, oh, ambience, oh, sci-fi, whatever. There's a reason certain sounds make us feel certain ways, and it has to do with actual science. That's why you got to use it. Use chords, use half steps. I'm gonna keep saying it. Do it. That's why your melodies are bad. Right? So I'm just going to stick with the good old Metro stuff we had going on, because I feel like making something a little bit more dark and repetitive. And that's something like you can build a lot of, like, you can create your entire beat catalog or all your melodies just using this one chord progression if you understand everything else we're about to talk about after, because that's how you, everything else we're about to talk about next is how you take like a simple boring chord and then turn it into like a beautiful melody. And that's what I found is that most people struggle with, is like, okay, I understand I need chords, I understand I need half steps, but like, then what? And I'm like, okay, well, that's what we're about to talk about next. Okay, yes. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to actually give a boring melody character. And this is where it gets a little bit outside of technical things that you can apply consistently, but this is also where you get to add your own character to things, right? So the best way I can describe this, and the best way I found to describe this, is just by telling people that this process involves adding bounce to your melodies. You want to view yourself as giving rhythm to a melody, honestly. So let me just go ahead and start walking through that so that it makes a lot more sense. And we can shorten this because I would want this to be like a little bit more repetitive. Honestly, I think 2 bars is good. Repetitive melodies are going to be your friend also. You always want to go for that. So one of the most simple ways to build like character into your melodies is through the concept of arpeggiation. And so that's as simple as just what an arpeggio is, and arpeggios get into the concept of arpeggiation. When you arpeggiate something, all you're doing is taking the chord and then breaking it up into pieces. So another way to talk about arpeggiation is actually to just call it a broken chord. So what you do is you just take the notes and you don't play them simultaneously as a chord anymore. You just break it up. So boom, arpeggio. Now the other kind of like quality that comes with arpeggiation is that it kind of is repetitive. So you'll get something like this. And then boom, we can duplicate that over, and then we'll just half step this note. Maybe we can put that up an octave. It's like, and I mean, so when you take the concept of arpeggiation and now you try to think about it one step further, it doesn't have to be on the grid. And that's where people make melodies that are unique. It's arpeggiation, but there is no methodology behind it. There is no, I'm going to do it every one step. I'm going to do it every whatever. It's just like a nonsense pattern that you've come up, but it's still just breaking the chord up. So I could do better to just show you, right? And then that's just all I need. I like that. It's got good bounce. I feel like I can switch it off to a patch, which we'll get into when we talk about layering in a second. I'm just going to duplicate that over to the 8-bar section, and I feel like we're good to go. And just a side note, the reason I'm doing it in a piano is not necessarily because I want to end up with a piano patch, although a lot of times I will just end up using a piano because it does sound very good. It's a very nice instrument with nice harmonics. But also the reason is because it's just easy, again, because it has nice harmonics, to hear all the tones in a piano. So you know just how, like, you can tell how everything sounds. Basically, I wouldn't make it on a trumpet or a pad or like a flute. It'd be hard to like make a melody foundation doing that. I'll just use something like a guitar, or I personally like to do it with the piano. It's super easy. FL keys is fire. That's what I do. So now I'm just going to add some bass notes. Okay, this is a little bit of an advanced topic, and we're still in the realm of like, you know, adding bounce, adding character to your melody, right? We haven't gotten into like layering things or picking sounds, more of the sound selection and sound design aspect of this, which has to do with mixing. We're still just kind of creating our actual melody. That's it. We haven't gotten into sound selection or mixing. That's basically what I'm trying to say. That being said, you can get into this. It is truly advanced and optional. Honestly, I would say steer away from what I'm about to talk about unless you have mastered everything up until this point, and pretty much everything after, then come back to this. This is like a bonus tip basically, but it's counter melody. Now, if you talk to like a truly professional musician, I'm talking like dudes that organize symphonies and they do orchestras and stuff like that, the concept of counter melody doesn't really exist. It's not a real thing. Like, I think it exists in music because like it's been a term that's been popularized in pop music, but it doesn't exist. What you want is harmony, and that's a complementing tone to your existing melody. Harmony. That's just like, no shit, right? When you actually kind of conceptualize what you actually want out of your music, you don't want something counter to what you made. Why would you want that? That's why counter melodies sound bad. It's counter to what you made, bro. It's literally like, I can't believe people don't notice that. Harmony. You want harmonization with everything that is happening in your music. That being said, do not make a goddamn counter melody, bro. Just add like 2 or 3 simple notes that literally complement and harmonize with your melody. You could do it in a separate patch, you know, separate thing if you wanted to indicate that, okay, this is going to be the counter melody. What I like to do is build out the entire melody. That's why I did the bass notes all in this one piano roll, is because then I'll just break it down to separate instruments later, and it's just easy to see everything in one stack. You could break it up, but just to let you know, I'm just going to do it in this same piano roll. Again, I am not making a counter melody. I don't make counter melodies ever. I pick notes that harmonize with the melody I've already made. It dead ass be like one note sometimes, or I'll use flourishes. Counter melodies fucking suck. Like, good songs do not have counter melodies. The artist's like voice is the counter melody. Like, there's just too much shit in your song if you have counter melody, to be real with you. So don't do that shit. Harmonization is what you want to do. Do not make counter melodies. If you want to like skip 2 years of absolute nonsense, please just go straight to harmony. But now that I've beat that dead horse, let's go ahead and do our harmonization, if it's even necessary, because I'm not going to force it for the sake of forcing it, but explaining that is very important. I think that's fine. It'll just make like if I add like one extra element, it'll just make like a nice flourish. I think that's more than good enough. Oh, I haven't saved it. So now we can move on to the next step, which is layering the sounds. And this has a lot to do with sound selection, which is a tricky topic. So what I'll say about sound selection is that there are specific like buckets of sounds that you need to pick from depending on what vibe you're going for. So let me try to explain that a little bit better, right? So if you're going for a yeet type of melody, right? You would not use like say a ton of like super acoustic instruments, like live instruments and shit like that. Not to say you're not gonna hear yeet on an acoustic guitar, flutes, fucking shit like that, beautiful lush piano progressions. And it's not saying you won't, but what do we normally hear yeet on? From what I've studied so far, it's like synths and like dark, very, very dark orchestral things. If he's going to get orchestral, specifically dark pianos, German pianos, bells, which we all know, dark sounding things, and then synths, which are very dark, pads. It's hard but soft at the same time so that it allows for his melodic performance. What I just said is what you have to pay attention to in sound selection. That is sound selection. Your thoughts process and your conceptualization of what's going on in the music that you want to create is sound selection. You don't get in there and you're like, this is a yeet sound, this is a Metro Boomin sound, that's a Travis Scott sound. If you're making music with that thought process, you are in the group of failures. I can 100% guarantee you that, because that is how the people who suck at this shit think about it. They don't like professional people aren't like, I can only use guitars because that's what Travis Scott wants. They're like, no, what sounds are going to curate the vibe perfectly for this artist based on everything I understand and based off of what I want to create. So like, it does require you to listen to their discography. It does require you to listen to what is popular in the genre that you want to produce in. You cannot just live in an echo chamber and think that you're going to make art that other people like and you haven't even considered the consumer's input. Your shit is going to suck until you consider the consumer's input. I can guarantee you that. You are not the edgelord who's going to reinvent the wheel. I think I said that earlier in this video. I want to say it again. You're not going to reinvent the wheel, so stop fucking trying. Like I'm tired of like working one-on-one with people who just refuse to just use what is out there. There's a developed zeitgeist, discourse of information, and there is a systemology of theory for a reason. You're not going to reinvent it. You absolutely will not reinvent it. Pay attention to what people are doing because they're doing it for a reason. If Travis Scott sounds like it's ambient pads and fucking bells, just use that shit. If Don Toliver likes synths and fucking bass plucks, use them, bro. If A$AP Rocky likes pianos and voxes, use them. Just fucking do it. If funk music has a certain vibe, if drill music has a, sorry about that. I have a meeting soon, but I'm about to finish this. I'm just gonna be late. Like, it's because it's that important, right? You need to pay it. That is sound selection. There's no sound selection tutorial. The sound selection is you putting in the fucking effort, bro. That's it. Like, you need to hear that shit. You need to hear that shit. You suck because you will not study. You suck because you won't put in the effort. You suck because you're trying to find the exact tutorial that's going to tell you what sounds to use for a Travis Scott beat. That doesn't exist for a reason, because anybody who's talented went and figured it out on their own. There is no way to put that into a tutorial. You must go out and practice. So you're not going to get that in the tutorial. So all of that is like a very long segue into this next section, which is basically how do you give character to a boring melody? I would not consider this boring, but I would say it doesn't pop as anything special. And that goes into this sound selection. So let's just take a case, for example. Let's say I wanted to make an orchestral loop that Southside could sample into a hard ass trap beat. That's like the thought process we're going for. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. Like, let's just take Southside out of it, because actually I don't even want you to get so confused and think that that's what it really is. I want to make something that if a horror movie was asking my sync agent for trap beats from me for a chase scene where it's like at the beginning of the movie, so it's not super tense yet, so they can use something that has like, you know, hype drums and pop drums and stuff like that, but it's got to have that horror vibe, right? That's what I'm thinking. So naturally I'm going to be like, okay, so maybe something like what Southside might want to use if he was sampling, so I might include that in my thought process as well, but I'm okay. So I'm thinking, okay, it has to be dark and horror inspired, so the first thing I have to check is, does my melody actually match that vibe? I might have to descend this. Yeah. So it was almost perfect. So I did have to, now that I understand what I want, you see, I have to tweak it a little more actually. I can't just move on. Now that I understand exactly what I want from it a little bit deeper, it requires me to, you know, have a bit more of a love affair with the music. It's not a quick jug. If you think it's a quick jug, click off this video. I can't believe you've watched this far. Metro said it. A lot of people are, you know, perverting this shit by treating it like a quick jug, but a lot of them are getting the fuck out of here because of AI, and that's very good. We'll talk about that another day. I messed up. Correct. So one thing I didn't do is I'll just strum all these notes. Excellent. A lot of them were strummed anyway because we arpeggiated, right? So first thing I'm going to do, and again, we're just using, for the sake of the tutorial, but also to truly demonstrate, you can make very good, if you haven't seen like any of my tutorials ever for some reason, like if you're new, welcome. And we can make good melodies with stock plugins. It's very, very possible. So we'll go to piano, and honestly, I know, let's just stay in FL keys. I know they have a dark piano patch actually just in here. Okay, cool. So what we'll do, so again, we're just working now. This is like working through my thought process. I might do a little bit less talking for this, but I do still really want to explain to you why I am doing things. So I'm separating this just so that I can have the option to kind of pull those bass notes out when I want to later on in arrangement, which we will talk about. And also play with the volume. Okay, cool. That's nice. So now, like, let's see. What do I want to layer? Let's layer that with, like, some strings. So the first thing I want to do is just, like, maybe a regular violin just to add harmony. And we'll follow those notes that we made for the harmony on that piano. So let's find a good way to filter. Yes. Let's see. Viola, let's do that. So it took me a little bit, but basically what I ended up doing is just following the dang chord progression that I made, and then kind of harmonizing with some of the other notes that were already in the melody, with some of these individual notes that aren't in chords. So now we can kind of get into where I'm picking and choosing what I actually want to have in this main melody we made. So I'll probably take this out because I want to replace it with a more stabby pluck type of string, probably just the pizzicato, to be honest. I use those a lot. Yeah, I don't see myself not using that. Okay, cool. So again, yeah, actually, I'm not going to overthink it because I already know what I want. So let's just go. We'll search all and do. Let's do that. That'll probably be good. And then what we can do is we can copy those notes that we already had in that piano. We already know that's what we want. I like that. It's definitely work. It's not going to be quick, but if you know what you're doing, you know it's going to happen. That's why once you know what you're doing, you just know you have to work through it until something comes. You know you're working off a concept that's going to work. It's like when you know how to draw a picture, you might like get stuck for a little bit, but you know what? You didn't forget how to draw a face, bro. You didn't forget how to draw like a triangle. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. You're going to figure it out. You just got to stick with it. Niggas, like, they get in there 10 minutes. It's like, I can't make a good melody, and they give up. I'm like, yeah, I would imagine. If I gave up 10 minutes into this shit, you never would have got the video. So now I'm gonna duplicate this. Whoa, not delete, LOL. Dyslexia does go crazy. It's not even a duplicate, it's clone. I'm thinking of like Adobe Premiere or something. And then I'm gonna turn this into a different, just like a different, I think there was like a viola pluck, so I'll use that and I'll layer it. Again, we're just layering orchestral sounds. I said layer. We're just layering orchestral sounds, right? Violin, piscata, I'll do a viola because that's what we're using up here, right? Yeah. I'm just layering more sounds. That's all I'm doing. That's nice. That's very nice. And again, this is really about creating a texture. I'm not really so much making more melodies at this point as I am just layering stuff on the using the melody I already created. I made a MIDI and I'm using that to make a melody. That's like dead ass how you have to think about it. Boom, clip that. That's it right there. I made a MIDI. I'm broke it down to make a melody. Once you know how to make your own MIDI and once you know how to layer sounds and create textures, you have become a really good sample maker. You'll be in the top 2% on God, easily. Like, and if you're in the top 2%, trust me, you can make money doing this shit it's available, bro. Cause it's a lot of niggas that's gonna need your service if you can do that. That makes me want to layer that string with something else, bro. That sounds good. That's good stuff. We can fix that up with effects. That ain't nothing. And then lastly, I will add, once you've got about 2 sounds, you're pretty much good to go. Once you have 2 solid like sounds with body in your melody, so piano, like hard synth, you know, something that has anything that can play chords that has like body, basically not a pad or some kind of ambient flourish, I would recommend really throttling down and really think about, if you're going to add anything more than 2 or 3 sounds, you need to stop and ask yourself, once you've reached that point, why am I adding the next thing? It could use a flute, but does that help? Will it get in the way of the artist? You need to ask yourself once you hit like 2 done patches, like I have right now, it's really 3 because I with that layer viola. Once you hit, 2 or 3, you really need to stop and be like, why am I going to add anything else? Because usually you had a good melody at 2 or at 3 patches, and then you fucked it up by going to 6 or 7. That's what so many people do. That's basically what everybody's doing. So that puts you out of that 2% that I was just talking about. You become a trash melody maker again if you're doing shit like that. It's not to say you can't have 6, because there will be melodies that need like 10 or 11. Not everyone does though. So stop at 2. And like the best ones dead ass be having 2 or 3. Go watch anybody's videos that's talking about placements. They'll tell you that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's up to you to just fight against the grain and beat your head against the wall because you want to, or you could just take the information that everybody's literally putting out there for you and then just use it to run it up. It's up to you. It's really up to you. So I feel like, okay, we've got piano, we've got street, so it's really 3. We're at 3, and I think we're fine. The only other sound I would recommend that you always add, even if you've hit the 3 already, is, and don't include this, is some kind of like something that will be a flourish or something that will be like a pad to kind of like fill. Okay, so it does 2 things. It fills up like frequency space and spectral space if you need it, and then you can always take it out if there's like literally no place for it to fit. But usually there will be, especially if you're not super good with like phase manipulation, basically with your effects like reverb, chorus, delay, and shit like that. Having some kind of pad and just knowing how to mix it into your beat is going to make the spectral space of your whole composition just sound a lot cooler. The other reason that is helpful is just it allows you to have like a little bit more variation in like your melodic composition without needing to create a new melody. So I'll basically now kind of exemplify what I'm talking about. So let's just go to Citrus because it does have one of my favorite pads that I actually have not used in a while, and it is the Amylase pad. It's such a banger right here. And so what I usually, and I'm thinking more so of a melodic flourish than even a pad melody really with this. So you'll see what I mean with that in a second. Oh, I fucked something up, didn't I? Yeah, okay, I meant to insert a new instance. I think I replaced it. LOL. Shout out to FL Studio for adding the function where you could undo that. You used not to be able to. I want to insert a new instance of Citrus. There we go. So yeah, a lot of in the new like FL21, you can undo like basically everything. So you don't ever need to panic. Just hit Control Z. Pro tip. Amylase. There we go. There we go. Good. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this piano, paste it in here, and we're basically good to go. From here, we just need to pick and choose like where we want it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's like when you want to drop all the, it's like so let's say I wanted to drop the piano, right? Let me kind of try to talk you through the thought process of why I always add a pad. So it's not just like, why do you do that? Because I do really want to explain everything. So let's say I wanted to drop that piano, right? And I didn't have the pad, but I kept everything in. That does sound hard, I'm not gonna lie. That's hard, especially when we add the effects and there's like reverb and everything. Like reverb will kind of create like a pad space, but like another thing that will actually sound really cool is like, okay, there could be a section where there's nothing there, but before we bring in the piano, there could be another section where we bring in the pad and it comes in like this. And it's just like, it's a really cool way to like, explicitly signify that there has been a change in the composition without like needing to be like, bam, there's been a change in the composition. You know what I'm saying? Like you could add a new melody. Like you could just create a whole damn flute melody, counter melody. You could do a whole different piano, Japanese glass piano. You could fucking, I don't know, you could bells, whatever. But I've noticed that when you go from like, you know, sounds to like less sound, and that you do that in the way of like going into a pad is for some reason, what I'm trying to say is a pad just is a really good composition instrument like to have. It glues things together. It's like a good bridge instrument. It's just bangers. I highly recommend including it in your melodic stack. It's gonna like, you really need to have something that's gonna act like a flourish. Even if you don't intend on using it for most of the beat, it's just really good for a change up, and it keeps you from like, it's gonna work every time basically. That's why I say to use it. Instead of trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna fit a bell into this? How am I gonna gross beat this into an alternate melody? Or how am I gonna create a counter melody? Don't do any of that. Just copy your main melody into a pad, and then I'll show you how to do some effects to make it look good, and you'll be good to go. You don't really got to worry and do all that extra, to be real with you. You just got to really understand what's going on. And once you understand what's going on, bro, you become a finesse god. But like, I really wanted to like help you understand, because it's not helpful to just tell you to do it without telling you like why I do it. So that being said, bro, now we are going to get into one of the best parts of this entire video. And now we are on step 6, bro. Step 6 is how to mix a dark melody to perfection, bro. This shit about to be fun as fuck. So I love mixing. Y'all know I love mixing. So I've been waiting to get to this section. It might be a little bit quick because like I'm really good at mixing. Like I said, I am more of an engineer than a producer. And so, but I will do my best to talk through it. And there's hella mixing tutorials linked below as well. So I got y'all with everything you need. But so we're just going to route this. Those are going to be the pianos. Let's turn that back on. I am going to put all my pizzicato strings in the same place so we can put that there, and everything should be routed now. That's cap. And then we'll route the viola and the pad, and then we're good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the soft clipper on my master, because whenever I start my mixing process, or really whenever I start my production, I like to get the soft clipper just because brick wall limiting is the sound of modern pop music. Like if you don't like know what I'm talking about, that means you haven't watched any of my mixing tutorials in the last 5 months, which shame on you. Go watch one to understand why I just said that. I'm not going to explain it right now. I still love you though, but definitely go watch one of my recent mixing tutorials. You're missing out for sure. So boom, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So we need, let's do isotope vinyl. And I like to set this first because I want to figure out what type of warping effect I want on my main instrument first, so that I can just copy that over to everything else. And I've noticed that's really good. If you plan on doing detune for every single sound in your thing, copying over the effect is better so that you don't run into any weird phase. It's just a lot of weird stuff that happens when it's not like a ubiquitous effect on everything that you add it to. So that's why I like to start with that. And it's kind of the first thing on my console, just so I can simulate that being straight on the piano. Like I want the piano to be detuned. I don't want to EQ it and then detune the EQ'd piano. I'd rather EQ after it's been detuned. Personal preference. I don't really like the dust. Yeah, there was a little bit of grossness on that high end. I wanted to get rid of that immediately. And then we can create a bit of a simulated radio effect or telephone effect right there with that. Using it to kind of, but at the same time using it to kind of accentuate those frequencies that I really like in here without explicitly doing a boost. So what I actually did was end up doing a cut. And it's just because that's, again, go watch one of my mixing tutorials that's been recently dropped, but it's always better to cut as opposed to boost. So even if you're going to do a boost, make sure you kind of like play with this to make sure it was actually a cut, you know, based off of this 0 decibels marks. It's just good mixing, trust me. Excellent. So let's add a little bit of width with some chorus. And so this is where we get into stereo. And this is the stack I'm using every time. It's usually some detune EQ chorus or some kind of like flanger, delay, and then reverb, and then maybe more EQ. So it's the same goddamn thing every time. I have not changed it in 5 years. That's what I do. It's what I've noticed that like the best people are doing. They have their own maybe flip on it, but that's what they're doing. It's all you need. You can use all the other stuff, but that's just the standard shit you need if you don't want to pay $100 for something you're only going to use once or twice. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we're just looking for the delay. I've been using the widen preset from Fruity Delay 2 since like day one. So I don't change it. I learned it in a tutorial and I just never changed it. Cathedral preset is bangers. You just mix it in. And then we'll console EQ that a little bit. Listen to that, bro. Let's bypass test that real quick. That's just good stuff. So what we can do is we can just take this preset or this stack that we've created, drag it over to the piano, because it's the same damn patch from FL Keys. And then we'll just raise the volume a little bit. There we go. Didn't even need to change anything. Now let's work on this. So I'm gonna copy over that vinyl preset to start, just so we get that same effect going. We don't have any phase issues. And then we're gonna get that EQ going and see how we wanna kind of get things going. Okay, cool. I still want it to have a little bit of bigness to it. So again, that chorus is always helpful for just giving things width. I love the fat clean preset. Just good stuff. Delay, I'm showing you right now. It's what I do every time. This one I might do a little bit more with delay here. And this is where it's helpful to understand how to use the macros in your, you know, effects plugins and stuff like that. That's a tutorial for another day though. It's very fun when you get into the sound design aspect of mixing though, because engineering really does encompass a lot of sound design as well. That's basically what it is, but topic for another day. Now that's sounding creepy. Okay, not yet. We still need reverb on this, right? Y'all see how much fun I'm having with this? I really like mixing too much. Now we can work on that viola. Again, we're just gonna copy over that vinyl to start. Good, we can just copy it and it matches the texture a lot more now. See how we can fit this pad in there. I'm not gonna put the detune on this. I don't really think it's necessary, so we can go straight to that EQ. Again, just get that low end out of there to start. Go ahead and EQ out some high end trash. Pads tend to cover a lot of melodic frequency and spectral space. That's really good right there. I'm just gonna add some more effects because I know that's a good idea. Really just gonna lightly sprinkle in some reverb on that pad. It's already got a lot of width to its character. We'll add some width in the stereo separation there. And then I'm gonna play with this in the piano roll just a little bit. Just give it a little bit more character. And just because, bro, let's just add a bass from Sakura, Greasy Peanut Butter, bro. Let's just do it. Let's just do it really quickly. Just so that we can say that this has bass as well. We might just not even do anything. Just copy the root notes. That's hard, bro. And we can just sound design that a little bit. We don't want to get rid of all the high-end harmonics, but we'll do just a little bit to make it sound a little bit darker. Oh, that's nice. Let's see if we can add some sound goodizer just to give it a little bit more body. I love that setting B for good character, but not too much. I'll put the bass a little bit more in mono, but not completely, because I do like that it's separated just a little bit. That's just good stuff, man. Okay, Okay, so one other cool thing we can do here, and I'm getting a little carried away, but we'll just do some signal flow stuff here really quickly so that our melody is nice and buff. We want our melodies to be just like we are, complete, total fucking chads. And that's just good. Nice little. So now we're getting into step 7, which is variation and movement. So if you've done everything up until this point correctly, this is supposed to be like one of the easiest steps besides step 8. So, which you'll see why in a second, why step 8 is the actual easiest step. But like, this should be easy if you've done everything correctly to this point. You shouldn't be getting here and thinking, oh my God, like the arrangement is going to be bad. You should be getting here and thinking like, oh my God, I have too many options about how to arrange this hoe. Like, what am I going to do? Like, if you're not feeling like that, then watch this hoe over again, because somewhere along the line you got lost, buddy. But it's okay. That's why I said don't bother trying to take notes or do nothing. Just listen. Just listen. You're going to be good. So I'm just duplicating this over some amount of times. Don't think about it. Just structure it out as something that makes sense. Don't think about intro, verse, none of that shit. It's stupid. It doesn't matter, really. Just go watch an arrangement tutorial down below if you want to figure out how to arrange stuff based on all that shit. But it does. I'm telling you, it doesn't fucking matter. Just listen. Like, what sounds good to me? Okay, I obviously don't want everything going at the same time to start. So I like that. I want that. Boom. I think that's good. A lot of people will say like, start with all the good melodies at the front and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I disagree. I think your gut feeling will tell you how to start it off better. I could have started with everything, but I think that's just a little overwhelming. I'd rather have it build. Personally, I'm not really building this to send out as a melody anyway for like a placement or anything. I guess if you're sending it out for like other people to listen to and actually use it, you might want to put your best foot forward. In that case, it would be helpful. I think the piano sounds good enough though. I think like I've sent beats to artists before where it was just like the best main instrument at the beginning and then it builds over time. That's a better thing to have happen. Send your shit to people who aren't going to skip it in the first 8 seconds because you didn't put all the flutes and shit in the front. Like, you're sending your music to the wrong people if that's the case, which means you're not trying hard enough to build an audience, which is a completely different issue. Go get my course down below. It's fucking free. There's no upsells. I have nothing to sell you. I made it to teach niggas how to stop being cringe when they're trying to build an audience of artists that they can market their music to. Like, you need to build an audience of people who will give a fuck and not skip it in 8 seconds. Like, it's impossible to get anything going if they're going to skip it in 8 seconds. Yeah. But if you're sending your shit to artists that are going to listen to it for 30 seconds before skipping it, if you build the melody over time, if you build the beat over time, if you structure it correctly based on the arrangement tutorial that I have down below and based off what I'm finna show you, they gonna fuck with it. So first of all, stop sending your shit to niggas that don't give a fuck. That's your problem. It doesn't matter how good it is. They're not gonna care because they don't fucking care. Learn to market. Go get that course down below. Secondly, just make the shit, arrange it properly using just normal arrangement shit. Go watch that tutorial down below. That being said, I'm gonna talk you through like why I'm doing these things and like kind of some tips and tricks for arranging your melodies based off of what I do. So again, I'm just trying to build this up over time. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay, cool. So that part is going to be intro, so it's not going to drop into more bass. I probably won't have bass again for a while. So this is where this pad comes in. I don't want viola yet, so we'll get rid of that. I like that right there. Yo, and then we'll bring the piscato back in. That's hard. And then, yo, that's hard, bro. And then, Then we can come back with more piano. Let's see if that viola even has purpose. Yeah, like right there is fine. But so I'll have it be like something that only comes in once so niggas can be like, damn, like that was epic for that part that it came in. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you got enough. You just got to know how to structure it out. So that's loud and it's got a lot of high end. So I'm going to play with just my console EQ to take care of that, really. That's hard. And then just have it drop back into like the pad again, probably just simple shit. That is card. So like maybe like one more thing I will say that can help you with arrangement is just adding like some kind of percussive texture. So I'm going to the 14 drum kit, free, download description below. That's good enough for me. God Domain level 1 is usually what I'm using most beats anyway, bro. I'm just gonna be real with you. Like I'm just trying to give y'all the sauce today. I don't really care. I'm never trying to hide nothing, but I don't even really care about anything. I'm just trying to give y'all, whoever watches this is gonna get a lot out of it, so I don't really care. Like you deserve all the sauce for watching. It's taking everything in me to not lay down some goddamn drums right now. I'm gonna have to do a drum programming tutorial after this because this is ape, bro. I'm literally gonna record a drum programming tutorial after this. This is ape, bro. Like we really did this stock off a simple chord, remember? So that really segues very nicely into how to export your dark trap melodies that you've made from scratch. And I'm gonna be real with you, just export that bitch. However, like I don't care about export settings. I think like 16-bit is more than fine enough. Like for wave MP, like most people just send fucking MP3s. Just make sure your MP3 is in 320, which is the highest quality. kbps or whatever the measurement is for that shit. Like that shit does not really matter that much. Just fucking export it. The main thing is to make sure you have a brick wall limiter or soft clipper because your shit is gonna sound quiet, soft, weak, and ass if you don't. So like that's important. Now, one more thing I do want to talk about is how to actually separate this out if you want to send it to other people, you know, your homies. Not so much for placements. Remember, if you're sending it to Southside, he's not even going to listen to it. And if he does, he'll skip it in the first 4 seconds because it doesn't sound like whatever he was probably looking for in that exact moment. It doesn't matter like how good it was. If it wasn't what he needed in that exact moment, he going to skip it. It don't even have nothing to do with it being good. Send it to your homies. You know what I'm saying? If you want to send it to your homies and you're trying to break it down so they can use it efficiently, this is how you do it, right? So boom, I'm separating everything. So I create 8 bars away from that last melody. And then boom, I'm putting everything 8 bars apart to start. And then we'll kind of get into talking a little bit more about some other stuff. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure I get every single like individual melody that I've made today separated by 8 bars. And then I'll just put that perk texture in there too. The homies will definitely appreciate you if you do that. We just did the viola, so the last one is literally just this. Okay, cool. We'll just duplicate that over. Boom. So all you need to do from here is boom, it's perfectly separated. Something that I saw someone do really cool is just this extra step. Just take, and homies will thank you for it, trust me. Take a fucking closed hat, bro. Drag it into your piano roll, right? And then boom, just come and go in between every 8 bars. So every 4 bars, just put this hi-hat in. It's to mark it when they open it up. This will basically mark in between every sample, so they can make even cuts just like mad easy, and they can clearly see like, okay, this is signifying that another sample's finna. It's just gonna be mad easy for them to see. The first time I saw someone do this, I was like, this is genius. Like every sample maker needs to be doing this shit. Like this is genius. Like so many like people, I really think like people will fuck with your melody just because you put the effort in to do this. Not even like people, it's vibes, bro. Like people just fuck with niggas that put energy into shit, bro. So it's like it's like that's the thing I want you to take home from this whole video is like, people don't care about all that fancy shit as much as you think. It's like your ability to like make something that actually sounds good, bro, and then communicate that with people who at least will care a little bit, or at least learn a little. You can learn the Jedi mind trick. I hate saying that to people because they'll either just be like, no, you can't, or they'll skip straight to trying to learn it and abuse it. But basically, the Jedi mind trick exists, and you can Jedi mind trick people into thinking your shit is more valuable than really what it is, right? Because all we're doing is making sound and selling pieces of paper that say you can use that sound, right? So this shit is not like a big deal. It's not like fucking revolutionary, right? It's not astrophysics. Like, let's be real. So the whole difficulty is in communicating the value of your shit. And if you struggle with that, go down below, get that course, get all the other free shit, because I promise you it's probably going to help you towards that end of growing your brand or making money. But you really want to, you know, rationalize the growth of your brand and the proliferation of like your audience and your like music listenership. You want to rationalize that through dollars earned, because that's what everybody else cares about. So even if you're like the one righteous human being who's like, I don't want any money, congratulations, bro. But you still need to think about it in terms of money, because everybody else wants money, right? So you're not fooling anybody, right? So that being said, the whole point of this, make something sound good. Like, let's literally just go through it again so that we understand like exactly what we did. We had to, first of all, step one, believe that we could make a good melody with stock plugins only. This will not work if you think you need Omnisphere. This will not work if you think you need PRODBYCHU. This will not work if you think you need Neutron. There's no way you got this far if that's your thought process, right? Step two is determining the mood. Remember, that has to do with key. Find keys that work for you. Study keys that your favorite artists and producers are using. Step three is building the foundation. Chords. It's all based off of chords. Even if you're going to do something fancy later, and as you grow, you will not need the chords as much because you'll just know where things fit. You'll be able to hear it. I promise you, you will get very good, but you do have to practice it. And the foundation of that is understanding chords. From there, breaking it up, using arpeggiation to make unique melodies. That's step four. Step five is adding depth through layering. Understand what is going on in your genre. Like, really study what people are doing. Don't just hop into the space and be thinking, I'm just going to use whatever and it's going to be good, because I promise you that's a good way to waste like the first 3 years of your career trying to fight against the grain. If you want to do something meaningful, that's a good way to waste the first 3 years of your career. So definitely go ahead and do that if you want to waste the first 3 years of your career. If you want to skip ahead of niggas by 3 years, just go copy what is going on in the genre, because I promise you, you'll be that much further ahead. You won't have to waste time figuring out that that's what you should be doing. I don't know how else to say it. If it didn't hit at that point, it's going to cost you the 3 years. You have an ignorance debt that you just need to pay, and apparently that's just how you're going to pay it. Step 6 is learning how to mix dark melodies to perfection. Take mixing seriously in general. Go watch mixing tutorials. Wavy Wayne. I have a lot of mixing tutorials. Whoever else takes mixing seriously, Larry O is another person who actually does take mixing seriously. You want to focus on producers who take mixing seriously, because what they are actually is engineers, and engineers are always going to be your best friend, because no matter what anyone says, they will always run the industry. I'm not saying I'm on that level of engineer, but I'm saying I take engineering seriously because I understand that and I want to leverage that very, very well. Right? So step seven is the whole arrangement of your melody. If you've done steps 1 through 6 correctly, there is no way step 7 should be difficult. And if you've done steps 1 through 7 correctly, then step 8, actually exporting the dark trap melody that you've made from scratch, should be no issue. That being said, bro, let me just get into like actually exporting, right? So I'm just going to hit Command plus Shift plus R, and that's going to give me the hard export option. And I'm just hitting save and I'm exporting, bro. These are my save settings, like, just so you know. And this works. I get placements. Just copy it. This is the screenshot. This is the bit rate. I didn't even know I wasn't exporting my MP3s in 320. So boom. KBPS. I have no idea what that stands for, bro. Kilobits per second. Yeah, sure. I think. Anyways, yeah, just make sure if it can be the highest quality MP3, because what ends up happening is that what I've heard, what I've understood from my mentors is that a 320 kilobits per second, I believe, MP3 is almost indistinguishable. It's like you would need a computer to basically distinguish the difference between that and like a lossless quality 16-bit WAV file, or even like a 24-bit. Like no one's going to be able to tell, right? So if you want to save a bunch of space and, you know, save a bunch of Google Drive cloud space, just send all your loops as MP3, or just export them as MP3, because truly it does not matter anymore. Computers are so good at processing audio, processing all this digital information, that it's just not going to make a difference. It's not killing your quality. That's not what's making it worse. I promise you not knowing how to make chords and you not knowing how to mix is why your shit sounds bad. No amount of export finessing is going to fix you not knowing what you're doing. You feel me? So that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm Chu. If you enjoyed this, consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things. I got shit for sale. You can buy them in the description below, but I'm not really trying to sell you anything, especially since you can pay me by literally just watching the video. Like, I literally get paid ad revenue. I do have a pretty cool job, I won't lie. So I'm very, very grateful. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to teach you. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to provide value to you. That being said, I do want to continue to provide value to you right now. Like I was saying in this entire video, mixing is very important. So if you want to learn like some absolutely god tier mixing tips, I mean like shit that is going to put you at least half a decade ahead of your peers. Like you're going to either want to share this with your homies or keep it away from your homies because you don't want anyone to know this. Check out this video that's appearing on the screen right now. I promise I'm going to get your mixing sounding right. I promise you everything you export after watching this video is going to sound godly. If not, charge me up in my Discord and let me know, and I will personally give you some more gems, because it would not make any goddamn sense for you to watch that whole video and not know how to mix shit that sounds better than your friends at that point. So that being said, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.